Good afternoon. This is a public meeting of the Arts Federation Application Review Panel, convened to review and discuss the Indiana Arts Commission FY24 Arts Project Support Grant Program applications for Region 4. I am Marcy Miller, located in Lafayette, Indiana, and today's review panel facilitator. Today is April 27th, and we are meeting online and streaming live for applicants and the public to observe. There is no contact between the panel and the audience about the disposition of applicants before, during, or after the panel meeting. This meeting will be recorded and made available upon request. At this time, I will individually invite each of the panelists and staff to introduce themselves, stating their name, occupation, and where they are from in the state. Let's start with the panel. So, Becca Hobson.
Hi, everyone. I'm Becca Hobson. I work for Indiana University. I'm also on the board of the Indiana Blind Children's Foundation, and I'm located in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello.
Thank you. Marcelina Robledo.
Hello, everybody. I live in Wolcott, Indiana, and I am the executive director for the Flora Community Club.
Thank you. Christina.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Davis. I am a senior grant consultant, and I work with arts and cultural organizations and social service organizations, and I live in the Indianapolis area.
Thank you. Monica.
Hi, I'm Monica Casanova. I am the Fairfield Township trustee, and I live in Lafayette.
Thank you. Robin.
Hi, I'm Robin Williams, and I am from Kokomo, Indiana, where I serve on the Kokomo Art Association, and I also serve as Regional Arts Council member at the Arts Federation.
And Zach.
Hi, everyone. I'm Zach Garcia. I'm the executive director at Wesselman Woods, and I am in Evansville, Indiana.
Thank you. Those are our 6 panelists, and then we have some staff members that need to introduce themselves. So Suzette from the IAC.
Hello, everyone. My name is Suzette Hartsfield-Jones, and I'm the Contracting and Financial Operations Coordinator here at the IAC, and today I am serving as tech support for the Zoom panel.
Thank you. Andre.
Good afternoon, everyone. Andres Saxonera. I'm Deputy Director for the Indiana Arts Commission, and today I'll be serving as note assistant and supporting staff to call today. Thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. And Tisha.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tisha Lee. I'm the CEO of the Arts Federation. We're the regional arts partner for Region 4, and we're located in Lafayette, Indiana. Thank you for being here.
Thank you to everyone that's in our panelists and our staff members. Now we will begin the panel review. This is how the process will work. I will announce the application that we will review and ask the first reader to begin the discussion. The first reader will provide their assessment of the application based upon the evaluation criteria and their perspective. Panelists, please note that the applications do not need to be recapped since everyone has read it. Just provide your comments. After the first reader is finished, I will ask the second reader to present any new, additional, or opposing comments. We are not looking for consensus, just a full evaluation from the different perspectives panelists bring to the table. After the second reader has finished, I will open the discussion for final comments. Remember, in the interest of time, we are only looking for new, additional, or opposing viewpoints. If a panelist has a conflict of interest, that panelist will be placed in the virtual waiting room while the application is reviewed. Finally, once the application has been reviewed by the full panel, we ask the panel to update their scores in the online system. It is common for scores to change as a result of this broader discussion. These scores save automatically. And then when you are finished, if you'll just give a thumbs up so that I know that you have updated your scores, that's great. Are there any questions? If not, okay, let's go ahead and begin. We're going to start with our application from Attica Heritage Days. And the first reader is Becca Hobson.
All right. I know that we're not supposed to summarize, so I'm trying to tell my human brain not to. So I think that from an artistic quality standpoint, this project has really clear goals. I also think that the use of curation is really strong from a project proposal perspective. Although this is a one-day event, I think the proposal shines a lot of light on storytelling from that curatorial standpoint. And I think that's really strong from a goal and impact piece for this project. I am curious if this is being used in a way to engage community, which I'll talk about when we go into the community engagement piece. When I read this proposal, there are 4 evolutions of the music styles that really represent the Opry's founder, which I thought was just something that really shines light on an artist or a founder from Indiana, and then bringing in artistic quality acts to really represent that. So I think the curatorial piece is really what shines light for this artistic quality. In terms of artist support, a significant amount of the budget is going directly to support artists, which are from the Midwest area to from Indiana, which I thought really shines light on the Indiana Arts Commission's mission. I also think from a community engagement perspective, so this proposal focuses on the Fountain area. Is it Attica or I'm going to say Attica. If I'm wrong, somebody interrupt me. So the community engagement piece is really about that county area and the city. I really think that the intention to create a vibrant and thriving destination to enjoy musical arts and bring quality acts to that community is part of the engagement piece that is huge for them in terms of they lean on that. And when we talk about the planning, I am curious how they bridge the planning piece of that into the engagement. So this proposal highlights a one-day event, but I think that in leading up toward that event, I think that there could be a lot of engagement that I wish that the proposal had outlined a little bit more. I do appreciate in terms of engagement and DEI, or I think the commission says, I can't remember, but diversity, equity, inclusion, and access in my language. I think that the strategies are clear. I think that this project and proposal really includes thoughtful inclusion efforts, diversity efforts. I do wonder if, in terms of engaging the assisted living communities that were outlined in the proposal, if you could potentially bring strategies from a live event to that community as a potential goal to bring that community in. Also, a goal that was outlined in this project was increasing numbers of younger audience in terms of diversifying this project. And I think that I'm curious again if how they're doing that from an engagement and community piece beyond the one-day event. So how is that thought? How is that goal being met as part of the programming? Food for thought. Let me see, what did I write here? Oh, just food for thought in terms of engagement. So thinking beyond the one day and this entire project, what about using some of those curatorial pieces that you have highlighted throughout the proposal as a way to engage those audiences? For example, the fact that there's an American Idol contestant as a performer could be something that you use to engage that younger audience, especially when you have so many partners involved in the communications and outreach as partners. Project management, let me go into that area. I think the timeline is really broad and really highlights the key milestones that are listed and needed to execute this project. I think it appears to be really well thought out from the major steps, but I do wish I understood more of that engagement piece. So just again, highlighting that idea that this is more than that one day and bringing some of those planning pieces into the engagement and the project management. So how are you meeting those goals and working with the community leading up to the day event as part of the timeline? The other, I don't need to read every single detail that I pointed out, but clearly I'm excited and I think that this is a strong proposal. I think that it demonstrates a lot of partnerships and local support throughout the entire proposal. The fact that you have resources from the community, the fact that you have so many sponsorships and private support shows the investment at the local level, which I thought was pretty impressive from a project management perspective. I also think that I am kind of curious. There was a little bit of a hiccup when it came to the numbers of participants. So I do wish I understood how many people were engaged at this event. However, the numbers that were listed in the proposal, I think provided a lot of feedback in terms of who the team is that are going to make this project happen. So I think I understood the hiccup, but I really wish that I understood how many people were actually going to participate in this event, because I think that would help me understand the significance. But looking at the budget and all of the partnerships, the timeline, I think it's really strong even without that. Let me see. I'm just going to give you a shout out and give you kudos for making this event happen already, for the amount of years that has already taken place, and honoring music and music talent and live experiences to the community in such a way that has such thoughtful programming. So from an overall perspective, hitting those areas of evaluation, I think those are my major points.
Okay, thank you very much, Becca. Our second reader is Christina.
All right, let's see if I can edit through what I have and not repeat what Becca has said. I think the thing I'll start with first is just an issue that a couple of the applicants have had, which is with those number of participants, which wildly varied. And I don't ding the applicants for this. I kind of saw it as it was worded a little oddly in the application. So hopefully that's something that the IAC can, tighten up for next year. But there were about 3 organizations that kind of interpreted that in a different way. So that'll come up again. But back to Attica. Let's see here. So it was a little hard for me to follow the history of the music series versus the festival, but the main point seems to be that past experience has provided insight in order for them to determine to combine the events for economic and probably logistical reasons. I really liked the explanation of the music genres as well. And I thought the artistic support was very good. Let's see, now on to IDEA. I would have loved to have, not being a member of the community, I would have loved to have had a little bit more insight into what the community looks like. Might feel like a no-brainer to the person who, wrote the application, but I would like to know a little bit about who typically attends and, just the overall makeup of your county. It sounds like they had reasonable insight as to why younger audiences aren't engaged with the musical offerings in the past and why they decided to alter that musical content. I would have liked to have understood a little bit more about their goals for what success looks like for reaching what they call the young, and maybe even what the definition of that group means to the applicant. I might assume that the young is birth to college, but they might consider that to be anybody under the age of 40. That can be kind of a wide, very personal definition related. So if they had told me what that was, that'd been great. Also, kudos to inviting rather than informing the assisted living facility. It just made me wonder if there's a deeper connection there. Do they attend every year? The only assisted living facility in the area, but wonderful work on that end. I like that they were doing both online surveys and paper surveys. Not everyone is social media savvy, and I know in more rural areas, obviously not the internet connectivity isn't always reliable, so that gives attendees multiple ways to provide feedback, which I like. I did notice in the Facebook posts that they linked to that they mentioned a kids fun zone and a parade, but that wasn't mentioned in the application. I think that probably adds to the idea of the community engagement part of the event. So, they did themselves a little bit of a disservice not mentioning that. So that might be something they want to consider next year or moving forward. I think that would be beneficial. And let's see. We have a small board and a small committee that puts this together, although the board members have incredible experience and very appropriate experience and for producing this festival. So I think they have a well-oiled machine here in terms of the project management. Two other things I just point out for future use is that there's obviously some sort of in-kind support from the local radio stations with the on-air advertising given for the event. They might want to get that amount quantified and listed as in-kind support. It just is a way to show additional community investment in the project. Looks even stronger. And also just one little minor note, the project budget was off by $500. So it's a small thing, but just, and it's hard when you have to put it in the way it's formatted, but just something to keep in mind moving forward. But I got the idea of it. That's all I have.
Thank you, Becca, and thank you, Christina. Are there any other new, additional, or opposing comments that anyone wants to offer? Yes, Marcelina.
For festivals, especially utilizing additional digital marketing such as Eventbrite and meetups really help broaden the footprint. And then also it'll give you a little additional digital data so that if you know that you're sending out your Eventbrite notice, and even though your event may be free, you can still have a free ticket, and that'll give you a head count, which will go towards your expectation of your audience. And rural areas really don't know about Eventbrite and meetups, but those are great tools for event planners and producers. So I recommend employing those.
Thank you for that suggestion. Any other comments?
I think that it would be great for them to extend the festival day to include master classes or workshops with the artists and bring more musical artists to the fairgrounds in order to interact and learn from the great talent that they're bringing there. That would be another community engagement opportunity.
Yeah. Thank you, Robin. Any other comments? Okay, please finalize your scores and update your online comments. And if you'll just let me know when you're finished with that. Is everyone finished? Okay, thank you, thank you. Let's move on to our next applicant, City of West Lafayette. And Marcelina, you're our first reader for that.
Overall, this was just a really strong application. The festival has been going on for 27 years. The festival date will be September 26th, and it's multidisciplinary. So it's not just a music festival. It includes food, as well as different educational experiences. And it began in West Lafayette, and from the origins, it has expanded its footprint. So it outgrew its original venue, and then it has steadily grown. And from what I can tell, it's on a trajectory to grow even bigger. So that's fantastic. The West Lafayette, City of West Lafayette is in partnership with other organizations to take on added responsibilities. For instance, they're partnering up with Purdue Convos, which will manage a lot of the talent, and et cetera, et cetera. So there's 3 big organizations that are pulling together to put the festivals together, which is really exciting because that is another example of diversity and community engagement, working with your community, so that you're not taking on the entire burden. The festival is at no cost to the community. And there are 2 areas in which I'm going to be a little nitpicky, just because it is such a strong application. That is in the area of regional. What is your definition of region and local? And the reason why I'm really tuned into that is your local? Is it just your city? Is it just Lafayette, West Lafayette? Is it the county? Is it 2 counties out? Regional? Is it statewide? So what does that footprint look like? And the reason why I'm really interested is because when it comes to your marketing, using digital tools, you can now geofence that region, and that'll give you your data going back to who you are attracting, who you are reaching out to. Another area where I'm a little nitpicky is the surveys. I mentioned that it is very difficult to, once the attendees have gone back to their homes, to know what they're feeling unless they're posting on Facebook or etc. Give them opportunity during the festival to give you that feedback. Actually have volunteers just go and survey folks, figure out 5 to 7 really important things that you want to know, demographic, location, etc., etc. Figure that out, and then just have volunteers just do a quick little survey. That'll give you real-time data to help you move forward. Let's see. That's pretty much my comments. I mean, like I said, just for me, it's just been just a really strong application. Go beyond the website, Facebook, and posters. Really think about what other technologies out there. Who are you partnering up media-wise? For Channel 18, which is the West Lafayette station, employ them to be a media partner. Same with the radio stations. Also with Channel 18, they have the opportunity to do what is called OTT, over the top, which is video streaming ads. So those are the ads that you find on YouTube, Hulu stations, etc., etc. And they do have the ability to do geofencing, and they will provide you a report on who that demographic is and who is viewing those audience, those commercials. Oh, and sponsorships. Yes. So one other thing, going back to your surveys, who are you also surveying your sponsors? I see that you're surveying your vendors, but how is that all working for you? How are you employing that data? And one final comment is, or question is, how did you learn from COVID? What post-COVID activities are you able to use to continue to grow your footprint, but then also provide the programming, especially the music, to other parts of the community that may not be able to go to the festival, either by physical limitations or just maybe introverts, they don't like crowds, but they do enjoy music. So how are you going deeper into that community engagement? And with that, again, it's a very strong application. Very, very happy with that.
Thank you, Marcelina. And we go to Zach, our second reader.
All right, so thank you for applying to this grant, City of West Lafayette. So artistic quality, you know, the program has a wide and diverse audience, and it seems like it's been well received. Reading through it, there are a lot of cultural events, and I really wanted to see what artistic activities within those cultural events were happening. I think without that information, it's harder to assess what the artistic quality and impact of the program is. So I think in the future, having specified what artistic endeavor, what artistic activity is taken at Global Fest, I think that needs to be highlighted and detailed in this grant. Again, artistic support, without providing specific information on what artist will be there and what activities they're doing, it's unclear how the funds will be allocated for the festival and for specific artists. So please be clear on who you're supporting with this funding and what outcomes they're going to have with their artistic activities. A lot of community collaborators with this program, which is wonderful. Going on what Marcelina said as well, I think having a more detailed marketing plan that you can really specify and highlight in the grant is super important, and give those marketing strategies in here so you can reach a wider audience. That's very important. And then from that end, for this large of event, it seems like they do have enough staff and volunteer efforts. That's sufficient. I think the main point for me as I review this grant is really be specific about what artistic activities you will be having at Global Fest.
Are you finished, Zach?
I am.
Okay, thank you very much. Do we have additional comments that anyone wants to make? Okay, if you'll please.
Second.
Rob.
Yes, it says that 150 musicians are benefiting from $60,000 of the project budget, but when it got down to the last part of the project budget, it said it was $30,000, a little over $30,000. So I'm a little confused with that. Seemed disconnected.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, if you'll go ahead then and please finalize your scores and update your comments. Is everyone finished? Okay. Thank you. Let's move on then. Our third application is Covington United Methodist Church. Christina is our first reader.
Thank you. Okay, so under artistic quality, I thought the applicant's discussion about the types of performers they were considering over the years and how they transitioned was really interesting. Unfortunately, in this area, the applicant did not state a clear goal for the project, but rather focused on talking about how they used past experience to inform programming, which is good. We're very glad you did that. I would encourage them, though, to think about what they are measuring through their surveys and their evaluations, and what is the purpose of the event. I think we'll get more into that in a little bit. And further down here, all of the performers, the handbells, the Dave Melton Family Singers, and the guest organist are all from Indiana. So Indian artists are being certainly benefiting from this experience. In terms of idea and in community engagement, I appreciated the demographic information that they provided to give some context to the application. However, I would caution the applicant about how they discuss what diversity exists in the county, even if it's a seemingly small percentage of the population. For instance, they write Fountain County has a population of 16,422 with 97% white, 3% other. I don't love that you've grouped others into a category, but also that's still over 500 people in the county who are not Caucasian, with an additional 478 that are of Latinx heritage. So I would encourage you to think a little bit more in depth about who is the true makeup of the county, and think a little bit more specifically about engaging them. I think being a house of worship, especially in a rural area, where in a lot of times they're at the epicenter of life, and super important resources in building communities. So great opportunities for engagement with religious organizations in rural communities. However, I think with that great possibility comes some need to be very thoughtful and strategic on who their partners are in the community. They make a point to say in the application that the event is welcome to all and no religious affiliation is required. But unfortunately, the burden of proof is kind of on the organization, in a sense, to prove that religious spaces aren't comfortable to everybody. I'm thinking specifically LGBTQIA+ communities, amongst others. And it takes some work to help those people feel welcome, besides just we said it. So I would encourage the applicant to really think a little bit deeper into what being inclusive means to them and how they might be able to bridge those gaps, those feelings in the community, and really make their words really ring true. And maybe they do, but I did not see it in the application. I was looking for that active communication and engagement. I would also ask the applicant to think about the difference between informing. They mentioned they informed groups about the concert versus inviting them. I know that seems like semantics, but I also suspect that personal connections and invitations go a really long way in these communities, and just that idea again of inclusiveness and invitation, I think is a really important thing to think about for them. A couple of more mundane things. In year one, a goodwill offering was taken and the money was redonated to other area service providers. I'm unclear if that offering is still being taken and if they've decided or it's clearly designated who the funds are going to. They do have a local fundraising efforts as an income line item, but that might not be what it's referring to. Attendance participation numbers are a little unclear. In 2021, there were 500 that attended or watched a video on social media, but the venue can only hold 250. So there appears to be a maximum in-person attendance possible. So maybe that's just in how they discuss those numbers. But just, how much can in terms of growing the event as well, there's certain capacity limitations there. And then while growing attendance, which they spoke about, is one indication of how an event is received, it shouldn't be the only one. Also, word of mouth and observational feedback, but there should be some sort of post-event surveys distributed at the event, either paper or through social media, something so that you really do gather some actual personal feedback from people besides just observations. For project management, only one person is listed as making this project happen. Although it's unclear if there's a volunteer committee that helps that person. I kind of hope and sort of assume that there is, but it wasn't mentioned. But I also see that the question specifically asks about the lead project manager. In future years, it might be helpful just to offer up who supports the administrator, just to show some more overall project execution support, and kind of highlight some of the engagement that the community or across the organization gives to putting on this community event. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Christina. And our second reader is Robin.
Well, I agree with you. I think that the Covington United Methodist Church has an opportunity to provide sort of an annual destination for holiday cheer, a musical experience to uplift anyone who wants to attend, as they say in their application. And even though the performers are Christian-based musical artists, the intent and content of the performance could resonate with many people. Now, how are they to define that or redefine that as they try to reach towards a larger audience, a more diverse audience? That's, I think, a good question. They've been organizing, producing the event for 4 previous years, so I think they're well equipped to know what to do for the 5th year. And they know the imperatives, the requirements to make it a success. A good thing that I saw was that the Melton family singers are known widely. And so they will assist with the marketing efforts, which is going to be a plus for them this year in particular. Again, the artist support, they are supporting artists from Indiana. And I like the fact that because this is an annual event and a destination event, maybe this will provide an impetus and a venue for further development of music groups and ensembles in the area. So it looks like that the Bell Choir has grown over the years, and this has been sort of an anchor event for them. And so maybe there will be additional musical ensembles and musical opportunities for development in Covington, because it is a small place. And, the church, like you said, is an epicenter for not only gathering, but for development of new artistical expressions and opportunities. Let's see, IDEA, yes, I agree. There's not a lot of details about the other in that mix. And how do we reach out to folks that are not of the majority population? I think that's an essential thing to look at. And the other thing I think, of course, is the evaluation it would be great to see a better instrument or evaluation method developed to reach people and to get greater than 10% feedback. They only have 10% feedback from their past performances. And they might not be, folks might not be savvy with computer, Survey Monkey or something like that, but they could still fill out an evaluation on site, and volunteers could go around and get the feedback, maybe at the reception, which takes place after their annual event. I think also, as long as they keep to utilizing their relationships with local press, they need to work on the promotion a little bit more, create better flyers, something that's a little bit more visually engaging, and then continue to work with social media. And then since this is the 5th year and it's a milestone year, I think that they could be definitely capitalizing on that message in their promotion for this particular performance. So I think, again, a church serves in a small community as an artistic beacon in some ways, depending on who is in charge of the music program. And I think this is something that could have more of a year-round effect and reverberating, impact on the community and its artistic growth and development.
Thank you, Robin. Are there any other comments? None? Okay. Thank you. If you will go ahead and finalize your scores and update comments.
Everyone all set?
Okay. Okay, thank you. Moving on to our 4th application for Monroe Township Public Library. Monica, you are our first reader.
Yeah, I thought this was a strong grant application. It's for the summer reading program for the Flora Township Public Library. And they're hiring an artist instructor to teach 3 weeks of classes or 3 series of classes. I really like how she's integrating the outside world to incorporate into what the kids are going to learn and apply it. I thought the sample artist work was strong. I would have liked to have seen under the idea category, the applicant talks about how Flora is becoming more racially diverse, but there's no data to back that up. So I would have liked to have seen some demographics there, but I thought the applicant did a strong job as far as doing a breakdown on what they were going to be teaching week to week. I like that they're doing formal surveys and simplified surveys for the students. I think summer reading program is really important to prevent what they call what do they call that? Summer drain or summer slump for the students. And it's really accessible because it's free, it's at the library, and they do a great partnership with the schools to promote the program. So really my only criticism was that idea piece. But yeah, strong grant application. I guess the other bit of maybe curiosity as to why they didn't request more grant funds for the work that they're doing. But that's all I have, Marcy.
Thank you, Monica. Becca, you're our second reader.
Thanks, Marcy. And thanks, Monica, for kicking this off. You made my job super easy. Yeah, I think that overall this is a strong application, and I'm trying to point out the things that are different, but I think the thing that what really struck me from the artistic quality perspective is that being the only institution locally that honors a summer or a artistic program, like an art teaching program, I thought was significant. I also think that being a relaxed, non-competitive environment really talks about sort of that authentic, impactful experience that is really challenging to find in general when it comes to art. So I really appreciate that that is the goal, along with how it really fits the organization's mission as well. This is actually a pretty significant program. There's 60 kids from what I understood. And the fact that they're bringing in an artist that has that teaching experience provides a lot of not just the quality of the work, but it really leans into the project management of the project as well. In terms of idea or inclusion, diversity, equity, and access, which is hard to say whenever you're talking about projects and people's ideas. So, but in that terms of engagement, again, being the only art instruction locally is significant. I like that they also opened up the program to adults, which could be significant if it is really diverse and becoming more diverse during a time when kids aren't in school. It also could potentially invite families and parents and other caretakers, which I thought was really interesting in terms of community engagement. I also marketing, if it is diverse and with lots of different potential languages, kind of food for thought. How are they thinking about that in terms of inviting and welcoming teams? I also really appreciate the partnership between the library and the school to make this happen. I mean, libraries are a mecca of community in areas that this is a resource that can really be supported by an art activity that doesn't exist locally. So really great work in terms of creating a partnership with the schools, with the library. Let's see. I do want to just highlight from a project management perspective, again, just that partnership, the leads being the director of the library and the art and art instructor, really shows the strength and significance and how much this program means to the organization. And then looking at the budget, although they could have asked for more, it's pretty significant in terms of what they are paying for supplies and the art instruction. So again, 3-day event that looks like a really strong, significant application and proposal. So thanks for making the time to provide us with all these details.
Thank you, Becca, Monica. Are there any other comments that people want?
I have just one. I do want to give them a shout out because it's not beyond the great partnership between the school and the library. They also work with the community center and this year a local camp. So to me, that screams community engagement and inclusion. And I think they're really still growing even after all these years of doing it and still trying to bring in more people. So again, kudos to them on that.
Thank you, Christina. Any other comments?
I had two comments. One, I'd like to see them have an exhibition at the end of the class periods and the program period, because I think kids not only love the process, but they also love to have a product to show their friends and family at the end of that particular program. And then the other thing is in the budget, I was challenged that 60 children would be creating work during a 10-day period with $200 worth of supplies, when they have a $937 line item in the budget for promotional design and development. So I think more money could be shifted over to the supply end of the budget, just so they'll have, a sufficient amount of supplies to really create all the amazing projects they're going to be doing in those 10 days.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, if you'll take some time to finalize your scores and update your online comments, giving me a thumbs up when you're finished.
I think that's everyone.
Okay, yes, that was quick. Thank you. Let's move on to Friends of the Covington Public Library, Kappa Kappa Kappa. And Robin, you're our first reader.
Overall, I believe this will be a good program to connect local and regional artists with youth and adult learners on a monthly basis. But I'm curious to know how the honorarium amount was decided and challenged to understand that the amount for supplies needed to accommodate all participants projected to take part in the class. So yes, I think overall it's a great, artistic project. There's a few points that I'm unclear about, specifically in reference to when they describe a tragedy of mental health in Covington, and how they're going to address that. More description and elaboration about this to identify need and benefit from art programming would be beneficial, and as would a description of possible plans to partner with mental health agencies in the area to develop programming to address those needs. So I'd like to know how they would like to connect and address mental health issues in the area with the programming that they've proposed. The application also mentioned a 4-year delivery of arts curriculum, but there's no further elaboration as to what the curriculum entails or provides and how it will be carried out over the trajectory of 4 years with the number of participants projected to take part in the classes that they have proposed. What are the proposed outcomes for that? And will there be consistent exhibitions of the work for public to enjoy? So those are some of the questions that I had initially on artist support and the artistic quality. Okay, let's see. With the community engagement piece, I think the marketing materials were sufficient. In terms of IDEA, again, we're, the true assets of any library arts patrons. Collaboration and community resources are cultivated by connecting with and listening to the people who come to your institution on a daily basis. So you're going to get that feedback from people. It's also important to understand that there are people who do not come to your institution that could be reached and engaged. And so I think, it's important to always consider all of that. I'm impressed that the library is providing sensory program for participants with special needs, and more details or elaboration on those efforts would be nice to see here as well. They have gathered reports to gauge the demographics of participation. but it's challenging to understand that there's less than 1% minority population in Fountain County. So how do we really look at that, and how do we reach those folks? I think that's the most important thing to delve into. And maybe there's a way to work with city government or local agencies to understand how to reach that broader audience. I think that the grant could provide more classes and more access, but they said that people can only make it on certain days, but also there are people who've never been to the library for any program. So a better strategy for reaching new people, I think, would be needed there. And then in terms of project management, they have a longstanding working relationships with the library, demonstrated program and facility grant experience. With the projected timeline, guest artists and corresponding project themes are clearly defined. Based on the timeline and the artist scheduled, it does not seem that $5,000 will be spent on the artist fees or honorarium. I was looking at the budget, and it says a total of $1,500 is allocated for travel and accommodation. So my question was, where are the artists coming from if they are not local or regional and they need travel expense and accommodations? Again, I always look, as somebody who's taught art classes, I always look at how much money are we spending on the fees for the artists, and also the fees or the monies that are needed for sufficient amounts of supplies in order to deliver the programming. And I'd like to see a little bit more money there. So those are my thoughts. I know that's a
Thank you, Robin. Monica, do you have any new comments to make?
I was curious whether the library was expanding its reach beyond the homeschool population, because they mentioned homeschool students, and I just had a issue with accessibility, because I want to make sure that they're not just targeting homeschool students, but all students who may only be able to come on weekends or evenings. So that's something I was curious about. As far as the funds requested, and I think the first reader made a note of this, but the $75 for instruction seems a little low to me. I'm not entirely sure, and maybe it's not appropriate to specify here, but the deep cleaning fee, I was a little kind of put out by that, but that's allowed within the grant proposal. That's really all I have.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other new additional comments? Thank you, Marcy.
I have to echo Robin's concern about the compensation for the artists, teaching artists. My concern is that if teaching artists continue to be underpaid, that especially as economic times become more challenging, that those artists are going to find other jobs, other projects that will pay them. So even though they may be in rural communities, the rural communities need to understand that artists still have to pay their bills. And so it doesn't matter if a community is in, it may not have the same cost of living as a metropolitan area, the artists still need to be paid well for their skills, for their education, and what they're delivering. And so this particular application, it really stood out to me, but there are other applications where that also.
Thank you, Marcy. Any others? Okay, if you will go ahead, please, and finalize your scores and update your online comments, giving me a thumbs up when you are finished. Thank you. And just a reminder that we do not want to recap the whole application. If you can keep your comments just to what you saw that you really appreciated or what you think could be improved upon. So our next applicant is Joyful Journey Incorporated, an adult day service, and Zach is our first reader.
All right, so I was impressed with how this grant clearly showcases the impact and artistic quality of Denise's work for Joyful Journey. It's very evident in the grant that Denise wants to make an impact for the friends. Artistic support. I was pleased to see that Denise was being fairly compensated for her service. Community engagement. I was impressed with the clarity and exactness of the responses regarding diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility, marketing, the measurements for the program as well. Additionally, I appreciated this program because it's offered to a vulnerable and generally ignored community. I think it's a novel program, and it brings artistic integrity to this group of friends. And then project management, I thought it was sufficient. Or staff support, excuse me, was sufficient. Overall, I thought it was, I really enjoyed looking and reviewing this grant.
Thank you very much, Zach. Our second reader is Marcy.
Yes, I agree with Zach. Overall, it's just a really strong, strong application, and really having an organization that doesn't necessarily is in the arts, but to really look at arts as being an integral part of the therapies and support that they give their friends. That was really, really refreshing to read. And a nitpicky thing is, how do you promote this program? Is this an asset as you look for other friends to come into your community? Is it an asset to as you attract staff? So I would really lean into the fact that you have created this phenomenal program to attract the staffing and talent, and also additional funding. And I'm curious as to some of the training that you have listed for the staff. Can you give example of the transformation of how the residents react to the program, and how are the staff trained within the program and capture those results, and just really see that ripple effect as to not only to the friend, but then also the family of your friends within the residency. But again, overall, just a really, really strong application. Oh, and I do have one more. What is the ratio of staff to friends? It sounds like it's a really well-staffed organization, but just curious as to what that ratio really is like.
Thank you. Are there additional comments? Thank you. If you'll go ahead then and finalize your scores.
And just if you'll give a thumbs up, that'd be great. Thank you.
Looks like everybody's finished. So our next application is Logansport Community School Corporation, and Becca is our first reader.
All right, so I'm going to highlight some of the things that I found strong and significant to start. This is a new project, and from a artistic quality standpoint, I think there were lots of significant points that were made in the proposal that really included the students directly in the planning and creation of the proposal, which I think is huge in terms of quality and impact. I also think that there was a lot of thoughtfulness when it came to the artistic project. So it's kind of the life cycle of, which is significant for high schoolers to be a part of: the creation, the making, the sharing, and then learning from mentors who are in the field of. So I think from an impact perspective, quality perspective, is this is a strong proposal. I also think that the artistic support is clearly there in terms of the budget and how that supports these specific Indiana artists. I also wanted to speak a little bit about the community engagement IDEA part, which I really appreciate that this proposal works with the direct community, making an authentic experience, specifically that they created a very long-term project that is housed within the school. So allowing it to be accessible directly to those students to be a part of this, which is pretty significant for the audience that they're serving, that direct support. Highlights. I think that this project management piece, the timeline has really key milestones, especially when talking about this project at a school level or a school corporation level. I do wish as a reader that I understood a lot more about the partnerships involved within the timeline and the management of this project, because I think there are assets there that aren't kind of identified based on the timeline that I wish I could really see and really, but I understand being a teacher and submitting this type of project, how the budget is really showing what is needed to make this happen. I also think that I don't quite understand how the leadership and the community school corporations, like their buy-in isn't here completely in terms of the budget or the project management, but the fact that the access to the gallery itself, the artist talks, and just to kind of highlight, this is a significant project. I mean, we're talking about 400, I think, students being able to access these mentors / artists, and then about half of that being part of the actual life cycle of the experience, which is significant. And I think that this quality of the art that the artist that is part of this the lead project manager has the experience to do it, and they're leaning in on the school and the school corporation to really be able to house that. So I think overall this project is significant, and I do think that it's kind of bare bones in terms of really focusing on the arts, the artist, and the materials to make it happen. But I can see throughout the proposal how they've really brought the community and the partnerships and the resources in. That's all I got.
Thank you, Becca. Christina is our second reader.
I think what Becca said, this is a significant project, is a great way to start off, because yes, there's a lot of students involved in this. And trying to understand this as such a big project, I kind of felt like some of the goals were a little bit vague as they were written. I kind of would have liked to have known a little bit more about those specific goals of the program, whether they're based on academic standards or related to specific techniques learned, or just a little bit more of a touchstone as a reader to kind of to grab onto. I mean, I don't need to know like the nitty-gritty details, which I know sometimes teachers really love to get in and tell you all about that, but I do need just a little bit more. I also kind of would have liked to have had a little bit more information on how often the class meets, and if they're expected to make several pieces that show mastery of a technique, or if the goal is a single artwork. I wasn't quite clear on that. I kind of also wish the applicant would have provided a little bit more information on the artist. What they gave us was great. Looks like they're going to be fantastic mentors and teachers, but there just wasn't very much. There wasn't websites, works, or anything like that. And I see that Michael Lorson one of the artists has experience working with students via his position at Ball State. but I wasn't sure if the other artist, Lori Bree Baker, did have that experience or not. That might make a difference. As far as artistic support, I'm, yes, obviously the artists are benefiting from this, but I'd also say that the students in the class are beneficiaries of the project as well. And it's not clear if they have an opportunity to sell their work in the gallery as well, but many of, other than the compensation for being part of the classes, there are some additional benefits to those students as well. And that's not a ding, that's just a kudos. There's more, there's even more people being benefited by this. As far as idea and engagement, I appreciated the statistics describing the school district, and including the number of languages spoken. I thought that was really interesting. And I appreciated that the flyers and the surveys are being planned in both English and Spanish. I think that's insightful. I think the opportunity for student feedback is great, and that the student input led to the direction of this entire project. So kudos. I would encourage the applicant to think, this wasn't mentioned specifically, but I don't want them to miss an opportunity here, because the students really show, as they say, an interest in community-based works. And they didn't say it in the proposal, but just the very nature of the work that they're interested in is steeped in this community-based thinking and idea strategies that, which, includes learning about people with different backgrounds through conversations, experiences, research, et cetera. So I would encourage the applicant to maybe see if that is, if there is a way to even further that already apparent interest in what they're offering. I would have liked to have learned a little bit more about the 150 students that are participating in the artist talks, but they aren't necessarily in the classes or being taught by these, working with the mentors directly. So I was just kind of interested to know a little bit more about what those talks look like, and in just a little bit more detail on that. I think the key staff contact is certainly knowledgeable and qualified. As for the budget, the consumable supply costs seemed very modest for 200. It was $250. Let's see, it was $1,500 for 250 students. That's about $6 a student. So that seemed to me like, is that a typo, or how is that? How's that working? But not to steal Robin's thunder, because she'll probably bring it up too. But I was worried about just reading that and being like, how is that all going to work? Are they going to have enough to do this? And then my last thing that I would talk about is that the artist talks are not listed in the timeline. I'm curious if the artists are part of the lesson planning process, or if they're just coming in as to do something kind of one-off, or if they have a specific purpose there. It just wasn't really, I wasn't clear about it. But I think it's a fantastic opportunity, and but a very ambitious project. So kudos to them. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Do we have other additional comments? Thank you. Let's move on. We don't have a lot of time left. So if you will go ahead and make Okay, thank you. Moving on, if we can be just a little briefer, a reminder that your comments need to be as pertinent, and the second reader, of course, new comments are absolutely welcome. So thank you. Number 9 is Pulaski County Tribe Incorporated. And Christina is our first reader. Oh, no, I'm sorry. Excuse me. In an effort to get things going, I was going to skip over somebody. I'm sorry. Let me go back. We are ready for actually number 8, Psi Iota Xi Beta Alpha chapter. And this is Marcy, that is our first reader. I apologize.
Okay, thank you. Well, again, this is just another really good, well-written application, to the point. I loved it. And the artistic quality that the artist brings. I watched some of his videos, and I think this project is really fortunate to have Aaron as the artist in residence. I'm also very pleased to see that the majority of the funding that is requested will be going to him, going back to my past comment about artists being paid what they're worth. So that's wonderful. In terms of community engagement, it looks like, because it is the school system, that they are reaching the vast majority of the students. But I'm just wondering, what does homeschooling look like? I don't know what that number is in terms of homeschooling, if there even are homeschoolers. I'm betting there probably are. And if they are homeschooled, are they able, those students, are they able to benefit from this artist in residence program? The fact that they're learning digital is also really exciting to me, because it is a newer medium, and they are able to keep their artwork, and they have the opportunity to display their artwork. And it looks like with the project management portion, they have a well-rounded project team. And overall, I'm just really pleased with this particular application.
Thank you, Marcy. Zach, you as our second reader.
Yep, I thought this grant presents an innovative approach to exposing young people to high quality digital media as a form of artistic expression. Compensation seems sufficient. I was really impressed that they had surveying methodologies in there, and the marketing efforts as well. I found that impressive. And staffing for this project seemed sufficient as well. This was a impressive grant.
Thank you very much, Zach. Any other additional comments? New? Okay, thank you. Now we're ready for our next grant, which is the Pulaski County Tribe Incorporated, and Christina is our first reader.
I just can't call it Pulaski. I'm sorry. I also lived in the Chicagoland area. Okay, so let's see. In terms of artistic quality, I think there are a really nice variety of art forms included in the Art in the Park event. There are 2 artists that demonstrate and conduct a make and take activity, and 4 that are demonstrations only, and a band. So there's just a variety of stuff going on there. And it really read to me like that the real outcome of this project was engagement, rather than any specific artistic learning goals or outcomes. And to me, that's absolutely fine. It seems exactly what they are wanted to do. As for the artistic support, the only question I had here was, it was unclear to me who the 11 additional artists were outside of the 6 demonstrating and teaching artists and the 3 musicians. So who they were and how they were going to participate or engage people, and or what benefits that they would receive. Other than that, I was fine with that. In terms of idea, obviously they had a need assessment that drove the idea of the Art in the Park as a response to the lack of recreational activity in the county. And feedback from the first festival was used, which I think is great. They're building each year on their information that they're gathering. I think the idea of a fun volunteer raising event is interesting. And I appreciate that they're trying to spread out the events to make there more recreational activities available to everybody. And it'll be interesting to me to see how successful they are in getting volunteers through doing this kind of fun event. The demographic landscape was super helpful and interesting. You know, they recognized that the county has experienced a decline in population, as many rural areas are. So the idea of being more engaging and providing more opportunities such as this are really, really important. One thing that wasn't clear to me was how other non-municipal organizations outside of the town park board and emergency services were being included in this event, such as schools, assisted living facilities, VFW, houses of worship, etc. They may have it, but those connections, if they do, certainly deserve a mention and go a long way to creating inclusiveness and access so that people feel really ready to engage. Yeah, although this is a newish event for the community, it will be the second year. It's intended to be a recurring event, and I think it looks like they're being really thoughtful about it. And that's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Robin is our second reader.
I will be brief, I promise. I was particularly impressed with the outcomes from the first annual event and the previous year, which included permanent sculptures in the park. I thought that was really cool. That there was something created from the festival that is enduring and will be present in the park. The thing that stood out to me is that I'm really not seeing diversity in the demographic of the artists roster. So that may translate or may not translate to the demographics of the audience not being quite as diverse as it could be. And again, when we talk about Pulaski County, majority of the residents are white, but there's still notable presence of Hispanic, Black, Native American, and multiracial residents in the county. So how do we reach out to them? How do we embrace them? How do we include them in this wonderful community festival?
Thank you, Robin. Any other additional new comments? Yes, Marcy.
Again, that media footprint, media sponsorship, look forward media sponsorship by way of radio, TV, newspaper. They do have capabilities to sponsor nonprofits.
Thank you, Zach.
My only comment is project start date and end date, they're incorrect. So always keep an eye out for those important details.
Yeah. Any other new comments? Okay, if you'll go ahead and finalize your scores.
That's everyone.
Okay, let's move ahead. Number 10, Tippecanoe Chamber Music Society. Monica is our first reader. Just a reminder of the time, please.
All right, I'll make it brief. I thought it was a strong grant proposal. I love that the chamber is going to the schools instead of expecting the schools to come to them. I love that they updated their offerings to include popular tunes and that they're targeting students of color and incorporating popular music that really appeals to them, and they take note of what the kids like, what they respond to. It's really, really a great grant proposal. All the artists are really impressive and highly trained. That's all I have. I think the project management, some point, they've been doing this a long time, so they know what they're doing.
Thank you, Monica. Becca, do you have any new comments?
Two comments that are new. I just really appreciate the extent at which this organization goes to help to make it easy for all of the partnerships. The examples that they provided was really, really helpful from a reader aspect. And then the second comment is, I do wish that the in-kind support was realized. Again, just to really consider the assets that are really making these projects happen, because this is a big project as well. So that's all I'm going to add to this strong proposal.
Thank you. Becca, do we have any new comments? Additional? Okay, if you will finalize your scores, please. Okay, our next application then is Tipton Community Theater. And Robin is our reader, our first reader.
I think it's most important to note, it really doesn't matter how large or small the community is. As long as there's a goal of excellence for a performing arts organization, then everyone's going to work towards that goal of excellence. And I think that this particular organization has done that. They provided an opportunity for the community to interface with theater that is engaging and colorful and well mounted, well put together. And so they don't have to travel to Indianapolis or Chicago or some other place to see theater. They can do it right there in their own backyard. And I think that's the biggest thing that stands out to me. They've got a great volunteer base, and then there's a few professionals that they bring in. But you know, it's well balanced. The budget is realistic, and they're very intentional about their IDEA strategies. They welcome anyone to participate. Anyone can audition. They recognize the fact that Tipton has become more diverse in recent years, and they embrace everyone in the setting of a small rural setting. But, you know, on stage, everyone is welcome. The ticket prices are reasonable. And like I said, the project management is professional, and it seems like they really have it together in Tipton. So I'm excited for them, and I think it's a really strong application.
Thank you so very much, Robin. And our second reader, Monica, do you have any additional or new comments?
Just one additional comment. This kind of jumped out at me, and I thought the comment was unnecessary. It reads under idea. It says TCT tends to not see that as a thing, this thing being idea that we talk about, and forgets it's supposed to be. It just kind of struck me a little tone deaf. I thought it was unnecessary when we were talking about idea, because I don't think that's the intention. But overall, I agree with everything Robin said. Yeah, that's all I had.
Thank you, Monica. Are there any other additional new comments?
I just have one, and that is, they mention it, and I think it's huge. I appreciate the practice of not precasting parts or importing actors for the parts. Obviously, in reality, this is a challenge in a lot of communities, and I commend them for keeping the process fair and local, because it sounds like as a result, the community completely supports them. So I think they're practicing, they're earning their engagement and their support. So kudos to them.
Thank you so very much.
Go back to what she said, the sort of opposing comment. I understand where they were coming from that perspective, because they don't want to make that a focal point of their policies of how they audition people and how they engage people in the process of creating the theater productions. The way I took it is they do this anyway. This is part of the fabric of who they are as an organization. So just wanted to say that.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay. This concludes the Arts Project Support Panel. Applicants will be notified of the status of their grant following the June commission meeting. If you have any questions, please contact Tisha Lee. That concludes everything. Thank you so very much, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Bye.
Thank you.
Panelists, stay on, please.
All right, the live stream has ended.